Powered by Riverside FM.
Powered by Riverside.
Another edition of Unconventional Playbook coming at you on a beautiful Thursday. Please continue to hit that like and subscribe button. Keep us growing. I'm going to talk about this issue with Jaylen Brown and the USA team, Kawhi Leonard. We touched on it in my last podcast with Patrick. We talked about it a little bit, but I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into this stuff, man, because I came out and I talked about how critical I was of the whole Caitlin Clark being left off the Olympic team. And people are saying that she's not one of the, top 12 players on the team, and she didn't deserve to be on the team. And, there was that outcry about that. And so now I look on the men's side of things, the opposite gender, and Kawhi Leonard came out and said that he wasn't going to be able to continue. He's doing that for health reasons, want to be ready for the season. You talk about a guy that's been the face of load management and sitting out and managing, those knees and things like that. But it seems like since he won a championship in Toronto, that no matter what he does load management wise, and no matter how many games he misses or sits out or how proactive he is, he still seems to continue to miss games when his team needs him most. So my question becomes, is load management really working? Like, is it to the point where Kawhi Leonard needs to think about retiring, because you, out of any player in the NBA, has been the most proactive when it comes to load management, and it doesn't help you in crucial moments where your team needs you. And this is another situation where you're on the Olympic team and now you feel like physically you're not quite there and you have to get ready for the season. So you reneged on an invitation to play with the Olympic team. Now, USA basketball had an opportunity to fill that spot. And you could argue, it should have been Cooper Flag. It could have been multiple players in the NBA, but they chose Derrick White. And I'm not saying Derrick White's not a good player. Derrick White was very instrumental in the Boston Celtics winning an NBA championship. But let's think about this. On the Olympic team already, they already have Jrue Holiday. Fantastic player, former Milwaukee Buck, helped the Milwaukee Bucks win a world championship. Jrue Holiday was a huge signing for them in the offseason to help this team win a championship. Then USA Basketball went Jason Tatum, who, for all intents and purposes, Jason Tatum is the face of that team. Whether you feel like he's deserving or not, you can't argue that he's one of the top two players on the team, whether you think that's Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. But right now, it seems like the Boston Celtics and the NBA national media puts it on Jason Tatum's mantle. Okay, so he's on the Olympic team. So now Kawhi Leonard leaves, and you have a chance to add another player. You could have went a lot of different directions with that, but then you chose to go Derrick White over Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, who was the Eastern Conference playoff MVP. The Jaylen Brown that played 70 games this year. The Jaylen Brown that averaged 23 points per game this year, 5 rebounds, 3.6 assists. The same Jaylen Brown that averaged 26 points last year, 23 points, 2021-22. 24 points per game, 2020-21. 20 points per game, not 19-20 season. Jaylen Brown, who has gotten the Boston Celtics when they had adversity and hard times, when Jason Tatum refused to show up or didn't show up, Jaylen Brown usually is the one that comes to the forefront and is ready to go without fail. That's been Jaylen Brown the past few years. And the Boston Celtics have gotten close in multiple years to going to the NBA Finals and winning a world championship, but they never did it on the shoulders of Jason Tatum. They sure as hell didn't do it on the shoulders of Derrick White. And I'm not saying Derrick White didn't influence the games this year. He had his moments. And again, he was impactful to the team in helping them win a world championship. But the most impactful guy this year was Jaylen Brown, and in previous years, Jaylen Brown, Eastern Conference MVP. Not only that, Jaylen Brown's NBA Finals MVP. So if you're USA Basketball and you reach off into the NBA and you choose someone over Jaylen Brown, man, you just better have a good excuse for it, or your whole system is fraudulent. Now, if you went on another team and found a star to put on the team, have no issue with that. I may argue and debate with you about it, but if it's a star, it's just all about your perspective. And USA Basketball, they just told us a few months ago that it's about putting the best team out there to go and compete overseas to try to win a gold medal. USA Basketball said that when it came to Caitlin Clark and the women's side of things. That's their goal. USA Basketball said that. So now, not only do you not reach outside the Boston Celtics organization, but you reach within the Boston Celtics organization, and you don't choose Jaylen Brown, who's your MVP. Your NBA Finals, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And if you had a team MVP, I'm damn well sure that it would be Jaylen Brown. He got you the brass ring. Where in other years where he wasn't at the forefront and Jason Tatum was, you came up a little short. But now he got you the brass ring. He got you the ring. And so when USA Basketball reaches in for an alternate for Kawhi Leonard, they bypass Jaylen Brown and go to Derrick White. Now, for NBA fans, everybody knows who Derrick White is. Derrick White's a baller. He can hoop. But for your average NBA fans, when I say the name Derrick White, you probably can't picture a face with the name. And so for USA Basketball to do that to Jaylen Brown, that's just a slap in the face. That's a slap in the face to Jaylen Brown. And it proves that the selection process when it comes to USA Basketball is flawed. And it's hypocritical. You choose who you want to choose when you want to choose it. That's what USA Basketball, I don't want to hear that it's about putting overseas the best team that we can possibly put together. That's a lot of talk, and it's never been the case. It hasn't been the case on the women's side, and it hasn't been the case on the men's side, and now this just proves my point for them to go into their depth bag of potential players who could be on this team and bring in Derrick White, who is a good player. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to dog Derrick White, but I think it's fair to say that if you had an opportunity to pick another player besides Kawhi Leonard, and you can argue whether Kawhi Leonard should have even been on a team in the first place, but you take off Kawhi Leonard, a Hall of Famer, an NBA champion, and you look at the landscape of players that's out there, you're going to choose Derrick White? And if you wanted to go a Celtic, it's not going to be Jaylen Brown? And I just hate stuff that doesn't make sense. So now all the arguments are coming up about shoe contracts, and Jaylen Brown made some comments about Nike and all that type of stuff. I get that, man. This is a business deal, and if you want to get back at players that throw shade on your brand, that's good. But don't give me the line that we're trying to put our best players overseas. Because, yeah, I understand that's about business, but also business is bringing home that gold medal and putting together the best team that you possibly can put together. Like, that's got to override the shoe stuff. At least that's what you told me a couple of months ago when it came to Caitlin Clark being on the women's Olympic team. Everybody was about, well, she's not one of the best players. We got to send our best players. Is Mr. White, Derrick White, is he one of the top 12, top 15 players in the league? Yet he's an alternate on the team? It shows you the hypocrisy of USA basketball in the selection process. I don't want to hear anything about we want to send the best players, because that's never been the case. And this just proves my point. So, Jaylen Brown not going to be on the Olympic team, which is fine. I don't think it's going to hurt the Olympic team, just like I thought it wouldn't hurt the Olympic team to have Caitlin Clark on there. It's not going to hurt the Olympic team because the Olympic team is stacked. More, odds are they're going to win a gold medal whether Jaylen Brown is on the team or not. The women are going to win the gold medal whether Caitlin Clark is on the team or not. So these bad, dumb, stupid decisions won't really show up. At least they better not show up. Both teams that have made bonehead decisions in crunch time when they needed to, you better not come up short. You better not come up short. And again, I'm USA all the way. I'm men's basketball all the way, women's basketball all the way. But the UP is going to keep it real. Unconventional Playbook is going to keep it real. And you can't tell me that there is not a good reason to have Jaylen Brown on this team above his teammate, Derrick White. It just makes no sense. It just makes no sense. And I know a lot of people are, being a little bit critical of the USA basketball. They struggled a little bit last night in Canada. Look, I'm not buying into that first game stuff. They're trying to build chemistry. They're working on some things. So I believe that the game you saw last night probably will be the USA's worst game that they will play. These guys are trying to fit together, and I heard the narrative last night that forgive the players, they're a little rusty. And if you want to buy into that narrative, that's fine. They're not a little rusty. What you have is when you have these super teams, these dream teams, these USA teams, they're bringing in the best players off those teams, and those players are used to carrying the weight of their team. Well, now they're in a situation where you can't have everybody trying to go out and get there. Some of these star players are going to have to be role players. They're going to have to play role player roles. And that becomes uncomfortable. That takes them out of their rhythm. They don't know how to play a lot off the ball. They don't know how to play when they're not getting ISO'd because they're stars on their individual team. So this is a new concept for them, and it makes them uncomfortable and takes them out of rhythm. And that's what you saw last night. That's why the turnovers were so high. That's why you saw a lot of hesitation in the players. And luckily their talent was enough to get them over the hump. But you're going to see little struggles like that. There are players on this team, like Anthony Edwards came on and said, he's option number 1. Well, there are players that are going to have to take a role of being option number 8, 9, 10 for this team to be a well-oiled machine. And that's going to be the fight when you have an all-star team or a USA Olympic team, is trying to mold that stuff together. I just had to get on here and talk about the whole Jaylen Brown thing. Made me upset, made me mad. Honestly, I probably wouldn't even be on here talking about it if they had went another direction, got a star off another team, and brought them on the Olympic team. But the fact they went into Boston, the Celtics roster, and picked another Celtic, but really besides Jaylen Brown, really burned me. And I'm sure it burned Jaylen Brown. And it was a slap in the face to Jaylen Brown. Whoever made the decision wanted to send a message to Jaylen Brown, and they did. And they did. Very unfortunate. And I won't spend a minute talking about the whole Stephen A comments and Jaylen Brown. I'm not going to do Stephen A. But the fact that Jaylen Brown was left off the team, that's tough. That's tough for me. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Let's keep it growing. Keep hitting that like and subscribe button. Going to continue to do great content. We've got Pat Buchanan coming up later on again this week. We're going to talk about the whole Jaylen Brown snub again, get into a little bit more depth with that. We're going to recap the Minnesota Timberwolves Summer League from Friday night. That's going to be something that we talk about, and we may hit on some other topics as well. Can't wait to have Pat back on. This has been Unconventional Playbook. Keep hitting that like and subscribe button. Keep listening. Keep things growing. And we will definitely see you when we see you from Unconventional Playbook. Thank you.
Powered by Riverside.